What's up, Richard?
I got to hear you talk.
The famous Tai Lopez garage. Here in my garage,
It's not that
in a Ferrari.
Makes sense to sell any of those things. Ever.
But they only let you ride so many miles, you know.
There.
I had a Lamborghini.
Absolutely. Well, thanks first and foremost for having us. It's always just a pleasure coming on these webinars, like serving, just delivering value. Chris and I are true educators at heart. As you can see, we're identical twins here. He's a younger brother by 1 minute, so I still have to give him stuff for that. But
Hey, I'm still stronger though.
But yeah, we got into the fitness industry about a decade ago, and we lost our father at age 18. So we've overcome a lot of adversity. Our mother turned to alcohol and antidepressant pills. She lost her mother 3 months after that. So we've dealt with a lot of loss and tragedy in our life at a young age, and we've overcome that. So what I always like to tell my Fit Pro students is always turn your messes into your messages. And that's what we've done is, just really just built online businesses, multiple six-figure businesses the last decade, got into the fitness industry early on when literally there wasn't anything really going on with social media and stuff. So we saw where the puck was going online, and we just built an online business by the name of Dynamic Duo Training, where we did custom exercise nutrition programs for people. We have a master's in sports nutrition. So yeah, we've had a lot of high-level mentors, and we scaled that business. And then we hit a plateau about 5 years ago, and then we joined Tai Lopez's mastermind group, the Business Builders. It was a $25,000 mastermind. It was the best decision that we made, and it really just made us better entrepreneurs. Just IQ, EQ, better marketers, just all the above. It just took us to the next level. So after that, the last 3 years we've been doing B2B coaching, helping fitness professionals create more income, impact, influence, and independence in their businesses, and helping them actually build online businesses. So yeah, I think that's it. Other than that, we have a podcast, the Dynamic Lifestyle Podcast. We've written a couple books, done a couple speaking gigs, but we're true students, and I feel like we're barely getting started.
Great, thank you guys so much. If you want, you can go ahead and just sort of put your any links that you have that you want these folks to be able to see. You can put those in the chat. Just make sure that if you do, or you can send them to me, in text, and I'll do that as well. But I just want to make sure that it's visible in the chat. I'll sort of sprinkle them in there occasionally.
Yeah.
We also have Itzel Romero. She's in the panel as a moderator too, so she can occasionally remind people what your links are and that sort of thing. So,
And there's a couple of ways that we want to help you guys out with this. So I'll drop the links in here right now. Is it for all panelists, or do I switch?
All panelists and attendees. Make sure you check that one.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
So yeah, we got that program right there that'll help out. And then if there's any Fit Pros on here as well too, they're looking to build the online component. I mean, this program right here will solve that problem as well too. So any possible way we could help. And then at the end too, Tyler, we actually have a picture of like a QR code to where if anybody wants a copy of our free book, the digital version, audio or ebook, that's our gift for you guys for being on this and showing that you guys are action takers and serious about change. So whenever you want me to pull that up, they can pop their phones out and get the free book.
Oh, awesome. That's incredible. That's the coolest thing anybody's done on one of these webinars so far. You guys are the best.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think we can go ahead and just sort of get started with the questions. We have some people that are already starting to get pretty antsy in the chat. So we have about 20 questions in the list right now. I'm going to go ahead and start off with sort of a general one that I tend to give all of our entrepreneurs and folks that are actual business owners. I like to ask, what are sort of three mistakes or just sort of like I wish I had knowns that you had about sort of starting up very early when you guys were first starting as Fit Pros, or even when you were sort of first starting as, Fit Pro pros, when you were helping other Fit Pros, with your business. What were sort of some mistakes that you wish you had been aware of when you were really just getting started?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll tackle that. I mean, the very first one I would say is not hiring a coach or a mentor fast enough. We tried to wear all the hats. We tried to do everything that we possibly could. And it's cool for, a certain point, but, then you get to a point where it's just like you top out on hours, you start getting stressed out, other things in your life start lacking, like health, wealth, love, happiness, all that stuff. So I wish I would have hired a coach or joined a mastermind or a mentorship or something like that faster, because I'm a true believer in those things, because you're buying community, you're buying accountability, and then you're buying access to information and knowledge that you're just not going to get through a book or like, you know, a YouTube video or a podcast. You know what I mean? So,
and just really quick to add that, I mean, we just did a recent podcast episode on why it's so important to buy into proximity. And proximity does two things, right? It buys you information and it buys you speed. And it also gets you access, you know, to, you know, a whole broad spectrum of different people in a network. And, you know, we all know that as entrepreneurs that your network is your net worth. And again, you got to play the long game with this. So that's a really good point Chris added. And I think the biggest thing, if I were to go back 10 years, it would just be understanding the importance of building your EQ. And, you know, everyone thinks that, you know, you need IQ, but EQ is what's going to make you relentless and resilient in this game of entrepreneurism, because it's very tough. You know, you're going to get knocked down, but you're going to have to understand to get back up, and you're going to have good days, bad days, you know, good months, bad months, good years, and bad years as well too. And you have to have thick skin. You really do. And the more you can work on yourself and understand that this is an infinite game, you know, it's not a finite game, that you're playing the long game in this. And you really have to just, you know, be tough and just resilient, because it's not going to be an easy journey.
Yeah. And the third thing, Tyler, I would say is just like understand that if you guys are entrepreneurs, you're building two brands. You're building your personal brand, and then you're building your business brand. You know, so for us, we were so focused on the business brand, and I think that we left behind 3 or 4 years that we could have really built like our personal brand. So that's why we're so huge with our students to like start doing content right now, whether it's video, audio, written, you know, doing it on all social media platforms. Just take advantage of getting your word out there, because everybody has a unique story, a unique gift, and a unique talent, and people are going to gravitate towards you just for being yourself.
I like that a lot. Yeah, so you addressed a few things there that I think a lot of people don't quite realize, is that when you're an entrepreneur and you're building a business, you know, you're building multiple brands. You are the face of your business when you're an entrepreneur in many ways, because you start as often the only one. You may have a partner. You know, you guys obviously are partners in most things that you do, but a lot of people start up on their own and they don't think about their own sort of the weight that they can have as individual thought leaders, even just from the start, and just what they can do with their personal social media and educating people around them, but also what they can do, obviously, serving through the service and the product of their business. There's always sort of two prongs there, and some people don't quite emphasize one or the other enough.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people that are asking sort of like mentally, how did you get started? So and this is something that I feel what these people are asking, because I didn't really know what the term entrepreneur meant until I was like maybe 19 or 20 years old. Like I was in college when I first basically heard that word and kind of understood what that meant. And, you know, starting a business to me never really made sense until I was basically, you know, just before working for MentorBox. So I think a lot of people are asking, like, you know, how did you first learn that you knew that you wanted to go through all the many steps of building a brand and building a business and creating a product and actually attacking it? Can you guys address that?
Absolutely. You know, we're going to have to do some story time, guys. So this is good. So I like this. Again, it goes back 10 years. So think what you can get done in a decade. You can get a lot done. But Chris and I were working full-time jobs, 9 to 5. I was working at a hospital. I was commuting an hour there and back. And then Chris was working for like a college program. It was like a nonprofit thing for, you know, 8 hours as well too. So again, you know, we just were, you know, normal guys. We just had gotten out of school. We just graduated with our undergraduate in business communications, and we were just going through the motions, you know, just like, you know, like, man, we're just not happy. Like just this commuting, just you're getting capped out at like X amount of dollars that you can only make. Just, we weren't fulfilled. And then we were being mentored by one of our first fitness coaches, and we saw everything he was doing. We saw that he had an online business. And then that's when we kind of put 2 and 2 together, just learning his methods and systems and processes. And we're like, oh, okay. So there's 2 of us. We could definitely build a business like this. We're very good at customer service. We've educated ourselves. We put in the sets and reps, and now's the time to do that. So it was just one of those things where we just had to take action, and the why behind it was so strong to where that's what made us just keep going, you know? So I think it gets to that point where you have to be so unhappy and unfulfilled at what you're doing to really make change, you know. And I get it. It's scary. There's going to be self-limiting beliefs, like, you know, the fear of getting started, the fear of failing, imposter syndrome, comparison syndrome, money mindset issues, a scarce mindset. We all deal with it, you know, till this day. You know, I would say that I suffer from some of those, and it's okay, you know. And I think that the pain got so bad, and for me, to where I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'm more of like I'm being more toxic to the company I was working for. So I was like, you know what, I got to build this thing on the side. It took me about 2 years, you know, just working, from like after work, staying up late, waking up early, not having a social life to build our online business. But it was the most gratifying thing I look back at. And I look back at the journey, more important. It wasn't about like when this business took off. I look at the journey of like the struggle, what it took to get from there to here now.
Yeah, and I would say, Tyler, too, like for me, man, it was that why. And that's why it's so important for everybody that's like watching this to really dig deep into your why. I mean, it might sound cliche, but it really is the truth, And for me, it was like I just lost my father, like literally my mentor, my role model. And it's like I knew how short life was. And for me, I was not going to sit there and work for somebody else that I was super unhappy for. I did not believe in their mission. And I wanted to build my own legacy and roll the dice that way. And I didn't care if it was going to sacrifice my lifestyle to not have a fancy car, not have a house up in the Hollywood Hills, whatever it was. I was going to sit there and do it on my own thing because I believed in it so much.
So was it that early mentor? I think you mentioned that it was your own sort of fitness coach. Was it him that really helped you guys with sort of understanding marketing channels and lead generation and things like that, and like finding customers when you were getting started out? Was it him, or was it other people? Was it online research yourself?
Coach, his name's Lane Norton. He taught us basically everything you can think about like nutrition, like training, just all that stuff, right? But it really wasn't until, honestly, man, like we joined Tai Lopez's mastermind, to where we went all in on just like marketing, sales, branding, positioning, social media. After that, we hired Mark Lack for personal branding. We hired Sue B. Zimmerman, who's like the Instagram expert. We hired Christopher Kai as a speaking coach. We just invested because we were just so hungry for that information and to pivot and help out Fit Pros.
Yeah, that's great. Somebody asked, and this is sort of a two-parted question here. So somebody's asking, what are some good ideas for like pillars of content to build upon? So you guys have sort of the 4 pillars: health, wealth, love, and happiness. I think that makes sense as sort of, those are universal principles that anybody can follow. But let's say that you're building a brand for, something that isn't related to, one of those things. Maybe they're just talking about, maybe they're a film buff and maybe they're a filmmaker or something like that, and they're building a different kind of business. How should they think about sort of the core pillars that their, sort of free social media content should be about? What do you think they should be thinking about to create sort of the core of their content?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And we teach a lot of this in our Instagram program as well, too. The first thing I always like to break down is understand this score. It's called VIRS, VIRS, right? So you're going to always want to create valuable, intentional, relatable, and shareable content all around, whether it's a video or a standalone post, even stories, right? But what we do a lot with our students, Tyler, is we do an exercise called the 5 pillars of KLT, right? Of know, like, trust. Because think about it, that's what social media is you're making deposits of content into your future clients' bank accounts. And you're doing that, like I said, delivering valuable, intentional, relatable, and shareable content. So you have to be consistent, and it has to be good. So we do an exercise that's called the 5 pillars. And what that is you come up with 5 different areas of your expertise. So let's say if like you're in the fitness realm, maybe those 5 pillars is nutrition, exercise, mindset, lifestyle, and habits. That's 5 pillars of social media content that you can put in rotation every single day and week, to where you don't have to overthink it so much. And then from there, you just build out like a social media template or a calendar and just be very intentional and always think quality over quantity. But I love that exercise, and it really depends on what your area of expertise is. But do your 5 pillars that you stand by, or 5 things that you want to teach, and then put those in rotation and test them out. If the audience likes it, great, keep it going. If not, go back to the drawing board, come up with some more pillars.
Yeah, and something else that's great too for a real practical exercise is the 80-20 rule. So the first 80-20 rule is, if you imagine a T graph right here. So on this left side, you talk about some of the stuff in your lifestyle, right? Some of the stuff that you're interested in. And the other side of this T graph, it's 80% of like your expertise, because somebody that's going to be following you, they don't want to hear 100% of the time like your expertise and talking about like real estate and like social media and like e-commerce, right? They're going to be like, at some point, this person is like too robotic, like they sound too good to be true, like they must have some flaws. So that 20% of the lifestyle, you got to start talking about like your ups, your downs, like your family, like interests, stuff like that. And then the 80-20 rule with that is then doing 80% of the time more promotion and only 20% of creation, because too many people have the mindset of just putting out, but they don't promote it enough. It's like you got to put your content out there a lot, over and over, and get in people's head just over and over.
Can we pull up an image that we have here that'd be really helpful for people?
Yeah, so I can allow you to share your screen. There, you should be able to share. Can you see that?
So this is a really cool kind of concept that we help with our Fit Pros, and this is basically Instagram and Facebook are lakes. Okay, so they're huge, they're massive. And what people don't understand though is you can stick polls in these lakes. So for example, Instagram, it's a huge lake, right? And the different polls that you have in there is stories, direct messages, Instagram TV, live videos, standalone posts, which are pictures, videos, your highlight reels. So there's literally like 6 different polls you can stick in that lake. And then Facebook, all these different polls in here, you know, and then you have LinkedIn and you have YouTube, right? So there's so many different types of ways that you could sit there and create content like within these lakes and sticking different polls in there. And you have to, because if you take one person next to this other person, person A is sticking all their polls in Instagram and Facebook, and then person B is only doing one poll in Instagram and Facebook. 9 out of 10 times, I'm going to put my money on the person A because they're getting themselves out there a lot more into people's faces.
And they're going to get favored by the algorithm because, you know, they're doing all those different things.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I like that graphic. So then the second part of that same question is, you know, what is the best channel? You guys are doing Instagram, you're doing Facebook, you're doing a podcast, you know, you have your website, I'm sure you're doing other sorts of lead generation, but for general traction, whether that's, you know, generating leads, just getting more brand awareness, growing your following, what have you found is the best channel?
Yeah, like that.
Man, I mean, I would say honestly, it's probably Instagram right now. I would say like maybe 3 years ago it was Facebook, but Instagram's pretty much taken over. You know, it's just it has all those different like neighborhoods like within it. You know, that you can sit there and maximize. You know, so if you're getting started, you just can't go wrong starting on Instagram and then probably Facebook. You know, I don't want to sit there and tell anybody to go like on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, all that stuff, because it's going to become like paralysis by overanalysis, and you're going to get frustrated. But yeah, just start with Facebook and Instagram because they're so similar in different ways. But I mean, I would put all my eggs in those baskets to start.
I'm going to play devil's advocate on Chris here. So I love that. But I think podcasting is where a lot of things are going, just because, again, everyone can sit there and listen to the audio, just whether they're doing something. And again, it's like there's so much knowledge and wisdom that you can talk about, and you actually can build, you know, this whole list of people and listeners. It's so much more powerful than Instagram, Facebook, because let's say one day all that stuff gets wiped out, right? So to me, I always teach my students that Instagram and social media, that's all rented land. You don't really own that land of names, emails, everything. So with the podcast, it's like those are real, genuine people that get to hear your voice in their ear like every single week and day to what you're delivering. So I think podcasting is really the future too. So hop into podcasting. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, you guys have done what? I think this was like the 245th episode or 241st or something. You guys are up there. Can you just let these folks know, like, a lot of people are asking for you to name your mentors one more time. So if you could maybe just do that slowly, and then somebody will type in the chat sort of who the folks were that you hired. And then also just talk about some folks that you had on the podcast, some of the big names.
Yeah, definitely. So our mentors, like fitness-wise, it was Dr. Lane Norton, Joe Klemzeski, Eric Helms, and then when it got into more marketing stuff, I would say Ty was our mentor. We invested in his program. Then we went on to Cole Hatter's program as well too. Then we hired Mark Lack. We've done a lot of Lewis Howe's coaching programs. Sue B. Zimmerman, Christopher Kai, and Mike Zeller as well too. Really, really good guy.
That's great.
Yeah. So all of them. And then the other question was the names on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just some of the cool folks. I mean, you guys have had some pretty big names on there, I think. So
like Grant Cardone, Patrick Bet-David, Alex Mayer on there, Mark Lack, Cole Hatter,
Bedros Koulian.
I know I'm missing so many other ones. Jordan Harbinger, Dan Fleischman, John Lee Dumas. We've had
that's a big one, yeah.
Yeah, we've had a lot of people on the podcast.
Cool. So let me get back to the Q&A here. I saw a couple of really good ones. I like this. So what's your favorite opt-in type for offers related to, in particular, so nutrition and fitness? So maybe this goes back to when you guys were more in the realm of actually personal trainers yourselves and working with clients directly like that. You know, when you had a funnel online or something like that, what sorts of things did you use as an opt-in mechanism to get emails, to get numbers, or even to get customers?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. I mean, we used like ebooks, but I didn't like calling them ebooks. I would call them like reports or like downloadable PDFs. So those were great, whether like on nutrition, training. We did video series too, so like a 2 to 4 video series on a different topic. What else did we do? We actually had this other cool idea that worked really, really well. Was we had a roundtable discussion to where we asked like 5 to 10 of like the pioneers at that time in the industry, and we knew those guys were. That's where all the traffic was, right? They were part of our Dream 100. So we asked them, hey, can you guys answer like 3 questions, and we'll put it in a blog style because video and audio wasn't big back then, or else we would have done it that way. So we put it in a blog fashion, and literally 10 of these like top tier cream of the crop experts were on our website. And we had a pop-up to like enter the email address. We had a call to action at the end of the email address. And we probably collected about like 10,000 emails just from running that lead magnet.
Yeah, and some other good ones too is like people love grocery lists. They love like recipe ideas, books.
Yeah, there you go.
Free just 3-day splits of like a exercise program, just your go-to nutrition hacks. I mean, there's so many cool things. But again, it goes back to testing and just seeing what kind of converts, and that's the fun about that's what's really fun about all of it.
Yeah. Tai always says, a lot of people ask, should I do this or this? And I think what he said last week was eliminate or from your vocabulary, turn it into and do both and test. And of course, can't always test every single thing, but you should try to test as much as possible. So I mean, that is part of the fun of all this. You try something, it doesn't work, you do something new. And
yeah, that was one big thing we took away from Tai was just test, and test more.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let me get back to the questions here. I saw a really good one on. Yeah, so how do you find a great coach for the specific needs that you have in any given moment? So let's say that you're looking for somebody that you need to help you. Like how did you find, for instance, Christopher Kai or like Mark Lack? I think they're both like really good with sales and speaking. Like how do you know that you've found the right coach, and how do you find the right coach?
Yeah, that's a great one. I like this acronym that I use. It's called T, right? So like the tea that you drink, TEA. So the T stands for look for mentors and coaches that have proven theories, that have actually, have blueprints, frameworks that are successful. The E is for experience, which that's the big one that I look for is like, does this person have experience? Have they had wins, losses? Like, are they, pretty humble with everything? Do they just only show their highlights? And then the A is for action. Is this coach and mentor actually walking the walk and practicing what they preach? So I like that acronym. And then to be honest, Tyler, I just go with kind of like to my gut. I do my research. Like I follow them for a while, look at their content. Again, it goes back to know, like, and trust. And, I usually want to go see these people in person because there's a big difference in dynamic when you hear people on video sometimes as opposed to when you meet them in person. And I've been very disappointed with a lot of people that I've met in the past. So for me, I know I have to go meet that person and see them in action in person if I'm going to go hire them.
That's awesome. So did you meet a lot of these folks through when you were a member of when you're members of the Tai Lopez Mastermind? Because I know they're all at least loosely affiliated.
Yeah. And that's the beauty of it, man. That's where the proximity comes in because, the trust is there, and it's like they're bringing these people in for a reason, so that was where we met a lot of the people like Christopher Kai, Mark Lack, Cole Hatter. And then obviously from like them, then you just start meeting more people. So it's like a compound effect.
But again, this is a good teaching lesson for those listening. Like you always have to go in with that intention of, you being a giver, not a taker, right? Because again, you see all these people, they're big name people, and that's all they're getting thrown all day long is people pitching them and asking for stuff, right? So again, go the extra mile, come at it at a different angle to, how can I serve this person? How can I make something better in their life? How can I make more money for them? How can I simplify something in their business? So do your research, take a general interest in these people outside of business, and literally just, reach out. There's nothing you can lose from it. Yes, they might not say no, but again, that's where the EQ comes in, and you're just resilient about it. Maybe it takes you 10 strikes or 10 at bats to get a response from them. So it's okay. It's just part of the game.
So, I just saw a really good one, but I lost it. People always ask this, no matter who is on, and it's incredibly important. So like tools and apps and resources online, like the infrastructure of your business, what exactly are you guys using? What do you find is the most productive resources for, just day-to-day productivity. What to you is the best, for your funnel and your infrastructure of your business? Can you talk about any of the tools that you use?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the biggest game changer for us is ClickFunnels. Like we're huge advocates of that, man, just because it's such a powerful program to build your funnels, to build like easy sales pages. I mean, they've made it to the point where it's just like you can learn that thing in a day. We always used to have that fear, and we're just like, nah, we can't learn it. Like that's not our skill set. It was just all just false belief patterns. And then we finally just did it for one full day, and then we're just like reaching out to support, watching like YouTube videos, and we learned that skill, which is great now because we can do some of this stuff. And if we ever hire somebody, we know that person can't be like, hey, we're going to charge you guys like 20 grand for like a simple landing page or something like that, right? So that's a lesson right there. But I would say ClickFunnels is probably like one of the biggest like game-changing things for us. That's why we advocated to our students to build like a coaching application funnel. Don't waste your money on a website. You need something that's going to convert, because the websites are basically like an online like business card these days.
Yeah, and some other ones too that are really good too. I mean, we use Infusionsoft for emails, and it's got a lot of good back-end stuff to, just that you could do. That's just a monster. But those that are starting off, go with MailChimp. They give you the first 2,000 subscribers. It's really good. A couple other things we use is Zapier for other things too. Then I use a platform called Veed for transcription for video. What else? I'm trying to think what else we use. I know there's a lot of them.
Do you have any favorite apps that you just each have on your phone that you use for like even like scheduling day to day and that sort of thing?
Yeah, definitely Google Calendar. Even too, like for call scheduler stuff, Schedule Once, we use that. For forms, for applications and questionnaires, we use Wufoo apps. Those are really good. But yeah, for calendars, I mean, I just go with Google Calendar just to simplify things and really just like, have the time ownership.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah. Somebody asked specifically if you guys use ClickFunnels. How long have you been on ClickFunnels now?
Ooh, I want to say like 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've used all parts of ClickFunnels at one point or another. It's great. Let's see what other questions we got. What about same sort of question, but platforms for personal trainers to use for like live training sessions, live, especially during coronavirus, teaching remotely and that sort of thing. Any advice for that?
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 that are pretty good that like we advocate to our students. That first one is like Trainerize. That one's like the biggest like one, the most well-known one. The other one is WeStrive. That's another one that's like really up and coming. They're doing some really cool features on that one. And then there's another one called Uscreen TV. So you can really like live stream and broadcast those workouts, and they save them there in their platform. So those 3 are probably like the go-to ones if you're going to be doing training. And then if you want like nutrition type of like apps, eatthismuch.com is really cool. So it's like if you have your calories, your protein, carbs, and fats, they actually put together meal plans and like a grocery list for you on that. Another one is called thatcleanlife.com. I mean, they have some really cool like nutrition stuff on there. So I would recommend like all 5 of those apps for any type of fit pro that's looking to build like the online component.
Yeah, and if you're doing live stuff too, I mean, Zoom is a good platform. I would think Skype, Google Hangouts maybe, but yeah, those are probably the top ones.
Well, okay, so you said Trainerize,
WeStrive, Uscreen TV.
Uscreen. Okay, I'm going to try to get these typed in here. Is it TRAIN?
Yeah.
Trainerize, and then WeStrive.
Okay, cool. So, all right, thank you for that. Let me see. Questions about Instagram and that sort of thing. Come back to that a little bit later to get more specific in Instagram if we can. Actually, I do want to ask about that. So what have you guys found works best with your brand and Instagram? I know you guys do a lot of awesome videos, and you definitely have sort of a brand and a feel around the way that you guys present yourselves, especially in all your Instagram posts. Have you found any sort of trends and things that work really well for you in particular?
Yeah, I mean, man, I love Instagram because, again, it's a big, testing game, and I'm like a mad scientist in it. And I think video has worked very well for us because, again, it goes back to how fast can you get people to know, like, and trust you. And there's nothing's going to replace, your face your emotions, and if you actually know what you're talking about, giving people value. So that's the quickest way. And that's why I think videos worked well for us. But I think too, like, people are really into Canva pics right now, to where it's like you have like a very just like big headline that's like, something very valuable and catchy to the eye, whether it's like you can put a picture of yourself, you can put a picture of somebody else. Those are really good. The Twitter pics are really good too, because again, it's very just clean, visually appealing, and it's straight to the point as, how do I hook these people? So always think about, how do I hook my audience with something really like captivating in the headline? And a couple other things too, just always remember, be the content producer, not the consumer. And I think too, another good learning lesson for you guys is always look at your Instagram as a business media, not social media. So too many people are on there just consuming. Like, use your guys' platform as business media, to where you're just delivering a ton of just value, and it's just not all about social.
Yeah, that's what I like what Russell Brunson says, to do funnel hacking, but only do it for like 10 to 20 minutes a day, because then you get, like creative, you get inspiration, and you can model people's stuff and see what's working and test that out yourself. But if you're spending like hours on it, I mean, you're not becoming the producer anymore,
Mm-hmm. What books do you guys recommend? Somebody asked that. We always go over that. But what are your like top 3 for each of you?
Jeez, man. I would start off with the book Relentless by Tim Grover. Anytime like I'm in a rut or anything like that, I mean, if I just read literally like a chapter, a day or 10 minutes a day, I mean, that thing is super powerful. So I recommend that. And then I really like Ryan Holiday's books as well too. So Obstacle the Way is really good, because this is stuff that's all going to build up your EQ, and there's going to be times where you just feel like you're just going to want to quit, and if you have those type of resources to just flip through them and read a couple chapters, it can bring you back up. And then I would say, I love Russell Brunson's series, man. I really do. .com secrets, expert secrets, and his traffic secrets. So I would start off on all 3 of those. Those are just like gold in there.
I guess I'm about to top those, Chris. My first one is Becoming Super Natural by Joe Dispenza. Really, really good one to build up the mindset and EQ. The next one is The Magic of Thinking Big. And then the other one that I recently read was, gosh, I can't think of the name real quick. Getting stumped right now. I'll have to go back to that. Yeah,
yeah, that's fine.
One, yeah, but those 2 are game changers.
I'll send him another one too. I'll save Eric right now. Is the Dan Kennedy series, the
Those
No
are good
BS series. Those
Yeah.
are really, really good. So all those ones.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. When it comes to ebooks as lead gen, opt-in type things, you guys have obviously written a ton of content and done all sorts of different formats of books and ebooks and PDFs and all that. How do you advise, let's say somebody is sort of doing their first ever, ebook downloadable PDF. How do you advise they do that? Should they write it themselves? Should they do all the research and maybe try to outsource it? What's the process? What do you advise?
Yeah, that's great, man. The first thing I would like to teach is like this acronym called SAGE, SAGE. So that stands for short, actionable, goal-oriented, and easy. So, I mean, this ebook has to be short, right? It can't sit there and be like 100 to like 200 pages, right? And then it has to be actionable. There's got to be tactical stuff in there. And then it's got to be goal-oriented. What's the goal? What's the outcome if they sit there and they consume this? And it's got to be easy just to understand. It can't be all this jargon, like Alex Mayer says, all this jargon and like fancy stuff, because people just don't care. You got to dumb it down. So if you answer all 4 of those type of questions, then you build the ebook around that, you're going to be in good shape. So I would say that was probably my top tips for that.
Yeah, and then just go back to like the aesthetics of the ebook. Like, take pride in like your guys' brand. So make it visually appealing to where it's good to the eye, and just make it very just digestible to where they can consume it very easily, like Chris said. And then always at the end, just always repeat call to action, CTAs to your business, even some testimonials. People love seeing that. So I think just that's a good way to do it.
Yeah, but to answer your question though, definitely outsource it after like you write it up on a Word doc.
Yeah. Or you could do it audio and just get it transcribed through rev.com.
Yeah.
There you go. That works.
And
thank you, Patty, for putting in the acronym there for SAGE. I love that Alex says that. That's obviously something that we follow a lot in mentor boxes. No crazy jargon, just the most actionable stuff, not a lot of fluff. And then on the back end, whenever you're talking with Alex, if you know him like we all do, like you guys probably do, he has a PhD in some really high level statistical topic. And there's a lot of jargon when you're having conversations with Alex about, niche marketing stuff. It's very funny, but he's also just very well versed in copywriting and the necessity of, keeping it sage, as you guys say. I like that a lot. All right, so let's get back to the questions here. We got so many questions; it's hard to get through them all. Some of them are really long too. Guys, try to keep your questions as short as possible. I'm seeing some that are like very long paragraphs, and I'm inclined to go to the short ones so I can get as many as possible. What are your daily routines? Can you guys talk about your daily routines?
Yeah, go for it, Chris.
That's a great question. All right, so I'm gonna try to sum this up quick, but I'm up every morning like at 5:30 in the morning, and then I have to get my morning routine in, and that consists of literally reading for an hour. Then I do stretching, I do foam rolling, I go for a walk, and I eat breakfast. So that usually takes about 90 minutes so that I'm ready to rock and roll around 7:30. And then I'm really big on just time blocks of just like deep work. So I'll never sit there and work like 8 straight hours, 10 straight hours, because it's just not possible. But I like doing like chunks of like 2 to 3 hour blocks and then taking a break midday, go to the gym so I can get some more creative juices, get some endorphins going. And then I'll end the rest of the day, with another couple of like work blocks till about 7. And I cut it off strong around 7:30, and I'm in bed by 10.
Mine's pretty much the same since we're twins. I'm not going to lie. The only thing is he wakes up earlier than me. I can't do it that early, but it's pretty much the same. Like someone asked a question like, how do you handle anxiety? Honestly, a morning routine really helps my anxiety because, again, think about it when we're waking up in the morning, we're always in reactive mode, right? You don't want to be in reactive mode. So by dedicating that time for you, it helps you play offense, not defense, by, just taking care of yourself and really just, mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So that's why I'm huge on morning routines. It calms you down. It actually makes you think more clearly, and you're going to be more productive throughout the day.
Awesome. I love that. I'm going to give you guys a tough one. Not sure how, if it's even, answerable in many ways, but somebody asked, how can you develop a personal brand if you have two very different businesses? So I think their example was, I can't find it now, but it's just like, two things that really have nothing to do with each other. Like one of them was film and the other was like, I don't know, something else that is not in the entertainment industry. Maybe it was fitness. I don't know, something like that. But what would you guys advise? You're business pros. What would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to tackle it, man. I'm not a personal branding expert by all means, but what I'm trying to do is understand this. So like, there's one brand here, and then they're talking about their personal brand. Like, how do you?
Yeah. So somebody owns two businesses effectively. Like, Ty has a million businesses, but his whole thing is like he is a businessman. So that how Tai Lopez does his personal brand. How would you advise somebody who's not a Tai Lopez, maybe just getting started out building a personal brand? Handle the fact that they have two significant businesses in their lives that they could, in theory, use to their personal brand, but they just don't really mesh together, basically.
Yeah, I mean, my go-to tip, Tyler, would probably be to go model somebody like a Ty or somebody like that that's already doing it, because if I'm getting started on that, that'd be a tough thing to really do. So I'd want to know who's doing this, and
mentors.
I'd probably sit there and try to hire them or be a part of one of their programs to, again, buy proximity, buy information, buy speed. So I'm not over here Googling things, watching YouTube videos, like, trying to pick apart everything, because they're the ones that are doing it, spending a lot of money, a lot of time. They failed already, So I would probably go to some of those people, honestly, Tyler, and I would probably funnel hack them and just see what they're doing. And then if they have a program around it or if they offer coaching, I'd probably invest in them to just cut down the learning curve and just not sit there and waste a lot of money.
Yeah, and I think just for me on that, I think you can never go wrong with just storytelling, right? I mean, stories sell, facts sell. Literally everybody has a story. So talk more about kind of like, your story as to why you got into these different businesses. Like, what's the why behind them? What's the origin story of it? And I think that will bring a little bit more clarity to the audience. So that's kind of my advice for that one.
That was a good one.
Yeah, that was a good question.
Tough question. I mean, of course, this is a call full of entrepreneurs, so we're going to have people doing all kinds of different business endeavors and combinations of them, especially because, they're following Ty. So, that's a challenging thing for sure. I like it, though. It's all about mentors at the end of the day. That's what we do.
I'm strong.
Let me see. What are we looking at here? So, how do you guys handle, being business partners? You guys are twins. It seems like you do a whole lot of things together in your lives, but at the end of the day, a business comes with, its own unique challenges. A lot of people, I've worked with people that are married couples owning businesses together, best friends owning businesses together, or just, business partners owning businesses together. How do you guys handle that, being who you are?
Yeah, that's a great one. I'll go first on this. So I think it's just really identifying our strengths and weaknesses, and honestly, just communication. You know that business partners, that's a relationship. And any type of relationship, it really comes down to communication and just being open and honest and having uncomfortable conversations with each other to, get better as, a team, move the needle forward in your business. So Chris and I, what we've done religiously is every Monday we have a team meeting, just me and him, for an hour to hour and a half. And we're just literally have all this stuff bullet pointed, like, what's the intention for this week? What are we marketing? What are we delegating over here to our virtual assistants, this and that. So we're very organized. And I think Chris he's more of kind of like the hands-on, just like very just strategic and organized. And I'm like the more guy that's like loose, like the content creator where like I don't stress so much. Chris stresses a lot, but that's why we balance each other out. Is there anything else you can add to that?
No, I mean, it's taken a lot of years, to just try to like perfect it. I don't even think we're perfect yet.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of flaws like that we have as like that relationship as business owners, but it's a game, man. And it takes reps and sets just like anything else. So we just try to get better every single week with like, being business owners and, having that relationship together, because if he gets out of hand, I mean, I'll just beat his ass, it's just simple. I'm just kidding.
What it all comes down to, who can beat up who. I like this question. How do you start a podcast? How do you get good guests early on? If you have no followers to start, how do you get great speakers in there?
Yeah, I mean, I would say honestly, just do a brain dump on, what's the title of this podcast? What's the theme? Again, what's the story and why behind it, right? Those are all very key just elements to your podcast show. From there, just go back to, is it going to be more about just you? Is it going to be more about like a brand? So that always helps like with the image you're going to put like on Apple Podcasts or anywhere else to promote it. But you know what? You have to just get started, and you can't look at the short game of it. You have to look at the long game of it, because again, we're all going to start with just like a very limited amount of listeners. I mean, we did too, but that never discouraged us, because I always had other people telling me in like masterminds, like, oh, just think about like even if 100 people are listening to you, right? That's 100 people that are giving you their undivided attention. So be grateful for that. You know what I mean? Be abundant that you're able to sit there and speak to 100 people and you can impact every one of those people. What if you had 100 people just buying your products? I'm sure you do really well as a business owner. So think about kind of like the compound effect as a podcaster, right? Like put in the sets and reps, throughout the days, the weeks, the months, and then the years, and all that's going to compound into having a really big podcast. And then also too, just reach out to people. Like I said, have a spreadsheet to have like data of like when you reached out to people. Did you send them a gift? Did you talk to their gatekeepers? There's so many different elements, but again, be persistent, be patiently aggressive, and just always reach back out to these people. And who cares if they say no? Don't take it personal. That's the worst thing you could do. So
and I think it's a mindset shift too when you're starting on this, Tyler, is like you're going to suck probably when you start off, and you got to be okay with it. You know what I mean? Like I can go back to our first like 50 and I'll probably laugh at like some of the questions and like all of the, just everything you possibly think about went wrong. But it's just like, that's part of the journey. That's part of the process. So just right when you get started and wanting to do a podcast, just understand it's not going to go the way you want. You're not going to be probably great. You're not going to have the best guests on there, but you just have to be consistent and get better and better. That's just what it's all about.
I'll tell you a funny story. So we were doing our podcast for over a year and a half, and then we were like, okay, we need to level this up and just do in-person interviews. We're like, we got to just do this. Like, we got to up this game. Yeah. So I booked someone in Los Angeles, and he was a big name guy. He had a business there, like a skincare business, and I forgot to hit the record button the whole time. The whole time we were having a conversation, and then an hour after I looked at the thing and I was like, you got to be kidding me. So it's part of it. You just
did you do it over, or did you just let him go? And
you could tell he was a little bit pissed, and I can't blame the guy. He took his time to get there and scheduled it all out, so it was our bad.
But again, it's part of the journey, and you just got to look back at it and appreciate it.
Yeah, the number of times that I've been involved in a recording, whether video or audio, where the record button wasn't pressed, happens all the damn time. Yeah, I love that you guys are willing to admit, early on, you're probably going to suck. I mean, my first couple things with MentorBox when they first hired me, my first interview was to interview somebody. I was brought in, and I actually the course is on MentorBox. It's me and Annie Duke, who's a world champion poker player, and I actually I knew her and was a fan of her, and I was pretty starstruck in that first interview. And luckily, cameras are able to be edited very craftily, and I don't look like a complete fool in that course. But God, when I was speaking to her, sitting in the chair across from her, I felt like a fool that first time doing it. But
Yeah.
you learn very quickly. You learn how to ask proper questions, when to ask questions, and how to keep the cadence of a conversation going. And of course, that's very important with a podcast and that sort of thing. So
yeah. And one more quick lesson on this topic, man, is like John Lee Dumas said this when we were interviewing him. He said like he got nervous like the first couple of times that he interviewed Tony Robbins. He said every master was once a disaster. Flat out, every master was once a disaster. So it's a mindset thing. It really, really is at the end of the day.
Yeah. Somebody, so in the chat there, Patty said that she has some good content that's not very refined, good recording quality. So what do you guys think about that? So again, this is like an early on thing. I personally, we have worked with really high level editors for both video and audio. I think there's always a way to turn something that's sloppy into something good. Do you guys agree?
I agree. Yeah, I would just put it out there. And again, you could even go in with the intention of saying like, hey guys, like just make a joke out of it. Say like, this is my first couple of videos, audio, to where it's like, don't laugh and it's going to get better. And yeah, again, I don't think people are expecting perfection. I think if the content is good, that's what really matters, and that's the one thing that really limits people. And again, causes the paralysis by overanalysis. They think they have to be so perfect, and it doesn't exist. Put out 80% of like the good content, and that's it. Just live with the results.
Yeah. What do you think about virtual assistants? Do you guys use any VAs?
Absolutely, man. That's something that we've really, really gotten better at, which I'm really, really happy about. So we have two virtual assistants that really help out, one with our podcast, and then one that kind of queues all of our emails up, our Scipio text messages, all that type of stuff. He does some DM stuff too. And then our other virtual assistant, she's great. She just does a lot of other miscellaneous stuff. She's actually right now reaching out to podcast guests to get us on more podcasts. Nice. And she's gotten us like on 10 just from reaching out, so that's been really, really great, because just think about how much time that would take out of our time to be able to do that. And then we have a video editor too, and he's been stepping it up for us, like on the YouTube game and all that stuff, man. So I'm really happy with like where we're going with like virtual assistants. And anybody that's listening to this, it's like I said, at some point, once you get to a point where you're going to want to scale up, you're going to have to start delegating, because you have to focus on the high income, high impact stuff, not the low income, low impact stuff. So if you're like 5-10 years in and you're focusing on like a Canva, like thumbnail or like, picture, that's the low income, low impact stuff that you do not need to sit there and focus on. You got to delegate that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. VAs we actually had a guy last week, Nathan Hirsch was our guest, and his whole thing is all about, remote workers and virtual assistants. And that stuff's important these days, especially now that we're, a lot of people are still dealing with COVID and just, everything is decentralized and remote. That's a really important thing. So
yeah, absolutely.
Glad you guys can speak to that as well. Let's see. More questions. Still have so many to get through here. Try to get as many as we can, of course, guys. Can't hit them all, but we're going to try. What's that?
This is fun. This is great.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. I like this one. Dominic asked, do you remember when it clicked? At the end of the day, I'm not exactly sure what he means, but can you guys answer that? When do you remember if there was like a moment in your business life when you were just like this, like it's right. We're making the right amount of money. We're making the progress we want. Clients are good. Do you have a moment like that?
I think so. It was probably about like 4 or 5 years ago when we actually built a studio garage gym in our home that we rented out in Orange County, where we put $10,000 into it because we had another idea to do this. And on top of that, we were making like 6 figures just with like our online business, just tailoring fitness programs for people. I think that's when it really clicked. When Chris and I were able to sit there and just like take multiple vacations, not sit there and continue to trade time for dollars. You saw kind of like that. All the hard work was coming together, that people would reach out to you to do speaking events, go on their podcasts. I think that was kind of like the big thing where it was just like, it clicked. But yeah, that's a tough one, because you as an entrepreneur, you really question, does it really, really ever 100% click?
That's what I was going to say. It's like, because you're always looking for that next, next level of success. It's like, in 2 years, we might have another call with you guys and you're world famous, and that point in time will be a lot less relevant than whatever it was that took you to that next level. So
it's a crazy game.
A new Devilment twin commercial takes off.
Yeah, there you go. So somebody actually asked another question about VAs. What's the best place to find VAs? Do you guys have an answer for that?
Whew, man, I wish I had like the answer to that. I know there's like a couple like sites out there that you can Google and stuff, but we've been lucky again, like being part of like masterminds to where it's like people have introduced us to them. And that took out a lot of work from us to have to go look for them, have to like research, have to like split test them, stuff like that. So again, it goes back to just like that proximity that I'm just going to keep hammering home to where it's like our mastermind members had these people, they hired them, they went through them. So all they did was introduce us to us, and it was a quick hire and it was easy and they were really great.
I've heard Upwork. Upwork is a good resource too. So might want to look there.
There's probably some Facebook groups and like a simple Google search too. I mean,
Yeah, there's a lot of options for VAs these days, and there are more and more constantly because, again, of the nature of COVID, people are doing that sort of work. So it's hard to nail one down. But yeah, I want to go back to masterminds actually, because you guys bring that up a lot. You gave some acronyms for finding like mentors and that sort of thing. Do you use the same system when you're looking for a mastermind for a group of people to become a part of, to ingratiate yourself in, to take yourselves to that next level? Do you have any other systems for finding a good mastermind group?
yeah, that's a good one, man. I mean, me personally, I'm gonna sometimes like even like when I'm looking for a good book to read, it's like instead of like having shiny object syndrome, I'll be like, what do I need to read right now? Like, what do I need at this moment to like consume? Is it mindset stuff? Is it marketing? Is it sales? So when you're joining a mastermind, it's like just really kind of just like do like a self audit with yourself in the business and the brand. Like, what do we need right now to get to the next level? Is it something focused on like systems? Is it more automation? Is it something with like digital marketing? Is it bringing up the social media game? So for me, it's like I got to figure out what I need right now. What's the company need the most right now, and then go out there and see who's doing it really good. As far as a mastermind or something like that to take it to that next level.
Yeah, and just again, like whoever's leading that mastermind, like you have to, he's got to catch that, him or her has to catch your attention in some way to where, you just have to really buy into their belief and their vision. And again, are they taking action, or are they really, doing everything they say? And what kind of community are they bringing in? What kind of other people are joining this? So there's a lot of elements to joining masterminds, but I think too, you don't always be focused on joining a mastermind. I mean, what masterminds really do is they buy you, a whole network. It's not going to really help you individually one-to-one. And that's one thing I didn't know, but I would not sit there and trade that experience for anything. But for me now, I hire coaches. Like I don't need to join masterminds, because it's like, again, I just want that person's individual time and just to focus to get shit done on what I need to do.
Yeah, and then a cool story too, Tyler. Like when we joined Ty's Business Builder, the reason why like we chose that and we just knew that feeling was good was because I remember Ty was telling his story there, like at the Roosevelt Hotel at the conference, and his story is what kind of like bought my trust. He was talking about his dad was mainly like in jail or prison or something like that. He grew up most of his life without a father, and it hit and related with me because we just recently lost our father, and we just knew what that pain was like to not have a father figure and to like be on this journey living in LA and like trying to like be entrepreneurs. So it's like it just gravitated towards, it's like we needed this like community, we needed Ty as the leader, we needed this network.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So I want to kind of continue on that message. Actually, somebody earlier asked, a few people have asked, how do you turn your mess into your message? So you guys addressed that a little bit with your very first sort of intro, but a lot of people are asking, how do you turn your pain into something that is, critical to your life in such that it becomes, your business? Like that in many ways is, you guys have done that to an extent. Some people are doing it more directly, where it's like, a loss results in something that they create a service directly for. It may not be like the loss of somebody in your life, but something that is a problem, you create a solution for it. And, that is turning pain into a story in many ways. But you guys have such a unique perspective on that because your pain is so serious and so real. So if you don't mind diving into a little bit, how do you sort of turn your mess into your message in that way? Do you have any advice on that?
That's a great question. I mean, it's something I always hammer home to like our Fit Pro students in our programs, is because a lot of them are going through the same thing. It's just, you got to surrender to that pain or a piece of adversity that you're facing, right? Because a lot of us don't want to sit there and actually face it and do the deep work, right? So for me, even too, I would say deal with that grief. And again, when something tragic happens or some sort of mess in your life happens, it's like the number one thing is you're trying to, run away from that problem. So for example, what Chris and I did, like when we lost our father, we did, get into a lot of trouble and stuff. And, we just focused on work, work, work. That was it. We masked that pain by building a business and putting our head down. We just kind of blocked everybody out socially. It wasn't a healthy thing. So you have to sit there and deal with that grief, that loss, and surrender to it and accept it and be like, look, this is a part of my life. It's always going to stick with me. I'm going to have my good days, my bad days, but it doesn't necessarily mean that has to anchor me down or make me go in a wrong direction. I can still make a blessing out of this, right? So that's my advice to do that. And I'll give you another example. Chris and I talked about that gym that we built in Orange County in our garage, $10,000. And then the guy ended up selling the house. So we had 30 days to sell all that brand new equipment and get out of there. So again, it's like that was a mess. But again, we turned it into a blessing in a message later down the road. And again, too many people don't want to sit there and share that. And I think it's just a downfall.
Yeah, a great answer. All right, let's finish it off with something super positive, and then we can have you guys sort of, give the link for the book and everything. What are your biggest failures? You guys want to talk about some of your biggest failures and how you overcame them?
Oh, shoot.
Don't have to be too specific or anything, but, just...
I'm fine. I love talking about this stuff. I don't like hiding stuff. I mean, I would say one of my biggest failures was like literally, I remember when I got arrested like for the very first time, and, I had to stay in jail the night, and I woke up that next day, and just the feeling that I felt of, being in there and like why I was in there. And I had to have my mom come pick me up. We had to hire a lawyer, had to deal with all this stuff. I mean, that was, to me, it was a failure. I shouldn't have done that, because our father taught us and he worked so hard to like raise us and bring us up in a good environment to not do that type of stuff. So for me, it was a huge, huge turning point in my life. And then I would say another one would be, man, like business wise is we just got a little bit too kind of like trigger happy with just like investing like in like, masterminds, coaches after coaches after mastermind. And we should have just kind of pumped the brakes a little bit and just put the work in a little bit and been like, okay, chill out a little bit. Cause I see people doing that, and
oh, yeah.
It's like, if you keep just like jumping to mastermind to coach, you're not going to end up taking any action on there, So I would say those two like are probably the biggest failures.
Whew, I got to top that, Tyler.
Let's hear it.
All right, let's go personal. So again, yeah, it's very similar to his. The first one, 10 years ago, I did get a DUI, driving under the influence, and I was barely over the limit. But again, it was just a very dumb mistake. I drove home from San Francisco, California at night, and I was going under the speed limit, and I got pulled over. So that was kind of the end of the story. Again, I felt like a piece of crap. Like I shamed myself, the whole thing, because I know that that's not who I am. And, I could have put someone else at risk, and I wasn't brought up that way. But again, we're all human, we make mistakes, and I'm not afraid to share that. Business wise, I would say too, when we were, starting to scale our business, Dynamic Duo Training, we sat there and we got very impatient to always want to expand the business and just make all these different adjacent products like courses, do-it-yourself programs, subscriptions, and we didn't even sit there and test it and do like a minimal viable product and see if like people wanted it. We just assumed, oh, this is a cool idea, like people will love it. And it backfired because a lot of people didn't even like buy our product when we launched it. So that's a good learning lesson for people starting a business is always, stabilize, optimize, and expand your business. Stabilize it, make sure that everything is working, that your core offers are making you revenue, that you're getting testimonials, that it's working. Then, optimize a little bit, make some tweaks on it. How do you just make it a little bit better? And then when it's just rolling, expand the business, expand it, and just, take it to the next level.
Awesome. Cool. I think that's a great way to finish it off. You guys, thank you so much for being candid and, talking about your personal lives as well as your business lives. That really matters. People love that.
Thank you for having me.
Everybody's just kind of saying in the chat, thank you, and agreeing. That's great.
Hey, thank you so much for watching this video and another episode on pro tips on living a dynamic lifestyle. We truly appreciate it. Hopefully you got a lot of value out of it. If you're interested in getting more value like this from these pro tips, make sure to subscribe above. We're going to be dropping these daily. Also, if you are a fitness professional and you're looking to create more income, impact, influence, and independence, we just dropped our new book, Rise of the Fit Pros, so you guys can do all of that. And you can also start building your hybrid training model of in-person and online training. So make sure to click the link or the book right here to grab your guys' copy, and we'll send it over to you. Other than that, we're out. Talk to you soon.